Hey everybody, this is Dim, and today we're going to do another vaping video. This time we're going to take two pieces that I got in vape mail today and take a look at them. And that is box 1 and box 2. This is the battle of the rebuildable tanks. Anyhow, so in both boxes, I got both of these from OptimusVapes.com. And just to note, not on sale or anything listed. These only cost $18 a piece, and that's for a Kayfun 3.1 ES and a Squape, the plastic tank version. But nevertheless, it's $18 a piece, and that's shipped. Fast-Tech is like $22, so it's $4 from cheaper than Fast-Tech per item, and it ships from California. I got it in about 3 days. Anyhow, I only have one other rebuildable tank, and that's the Kraken, and I'm not a huge fan of it. With most Genesis style atomizers, I personally run into quite a bit of wicking issues. Even with a single coil, I don't really like the taste of stainless steel mesh, and the mesh or rope cotton combo is kind of and I've always kind of just had wicking issues with it, so I really don't use it. I actually wind up using something like my iClear or other sort of tanks. So I was actually really excited to get these. I haven't really done anything with them except wrap them up, look at them, and then put them back in their decorative boxing. Anyhow, yeah, so let's go ahead and take a look at what these two are. And what this video is going to do is going to kind of show you briefly what the item is. Then I'm going to use them a little bit, and we're going to come back and talk about them in another video, and we're going to compare which one do I think is better, the Squape or the Kayfun. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and open up the first designer package. Now, I am not one of those people, I'm saying that very joking around. I don't care about packaging as long as it's there and the item's intact. I really don't care what the item looks like. So, okay, so the Squape comes in empty box, and you get a couple things in a Ziploc baggie. And so, real quickly, just to show you the stuff that it comes with. Okay, so you get an accessory bag, and inside that accessory bag, you're going to find an Allen key, some silica wire, some Kanthal, very, very thin gauge Kanthal, and 1, 2, 3, looks like 3 different sized O-rings. Okay, and then the Squape comes fully assembled, and I'm sure you guys have seen in other videos, it is 3 different types of material. So you have kind of like a diamond plate for the grip, a smooth brushed metal here, and then you have a ridged metal here. It's all the same sort of finish, except this one just has grooves. This one has like a crisscross diamond plate pattern type of thing on it, and the rest is brushed. So it is a little weird that it has the different materials, but yeah, and then of course the removable drip tip. Now the Squape, actually I noticed that this one has quite a bit of something going on in the tank, and I'm sure that's for part of the manufacturing process. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Kayfun and see what we get with that. Okay, let's look at the Kayfun and see what we get with the Kayfun. Okay, this was in a bag, but it came out of the bag, so it doesn't really matter. First off, we get a bit of screwdriver, a mouthpiece. Remember, the Kayfun does not use a standard 510 mouthpiece. It is a threaded, regular, different mouthpiece. And this one actually comes with one pre-built silica and Kanthal wire coil. And then, of course, the Kayfun. Now, just right off the bat, so with having the Squape and the Kayfun, okay, so size comparison. Actually, though the Kayfun holds less liquid, the Squape is actually overall distance shorter than the Kayfun. Okay, and with both mouthpieces on, I'll go ahead and plug some 3D printing stuff here. In my 3D printed atomizer holder, you'll see that the Kayfun is actually a bit taller than the Squape. And these holes are, of course, equal in size. Again, the Squape tank is larger, but the Kayfun itself, from bottom to top, is a taller device. Now, there's some similarities and a lot of differences. A lot of videos I've seen have said that they're very similar devices, and quite frankly, I kind of disagree with that, because the overall assembly of both of these, aside from being a tank, are not very similar at all. and I'll go through the Squape real quick. So if you simply unscrew the bottom, you get access to your bridge, which is supposed to be ceramic coated, and there is a lot of manufactured something on here. I don't know, even know. It's really brown, actually. But anyhow, the main pieces, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I may save these for individual. What I think I'm going to do here is the quick preview, an individual preview for each device, or for both devices, and then we'll do a final battle comparison. So, just briefly here. So you have your chamber that is all degunked, and you obviously have your 510 connector, adjustable pin. Okay, and then you also have, and I'll use my little Kayfun screwdriver now, this hole right here is actually the pass-through for the air. So when it comes off the coil, it'll come straight up into this passageway, and then you're good to go. But now if you look closer, and this is one major difference of the Kayfun compared to the Squape, is that around the hole here, there's actually an opening. And with that, you actually use that, and you can use a thin drip tip or a syringe, and you could fill up your Squape without making any other disturbance to your device whatsoever. And also, if you want to hold it upside down, or if you have something that can hold this upside down, you can actually maintain your device like this and rebuild the coils without draining your tank. Okay, so the tank contents can, as long as you keep it, I mean, if you go like this, you're going to have a gigantic mess. You don't want to do that. But if you keep it like this, if you keep it upright, and once you take the drip tip out, it sits flat. So you can actually service your coil or create a new coil while you have your 5 milliliters of juice sitting inside, which is nice. And of course, the center post for air, and you have your 2-post connector for your single coil build. These, of course, are only single coil, and that is another similarity. Now, with the Kayfun, it's a little bit different, and there's a little bit more to get to your different parts of your devices. So first of all, the mouthpiece, as I said, is a proprietary kind of its own mouthpiece. There's other people that make aftermarket drip tips for it, if you can actually call an aftermarket for a clone aftermarket. But anyhow, it's not a standard 510 connection. Now, this one, what you can do if you want to get to the juice, you just simply unscrew the top part, and you have full open access to the inside of your tank. Okay? So you can actually fill up your juice really quick with just simply unscrewing the top and, you know, carefully placing it down and filling up your juice. You don't even need to really place it down. You just have to, you know, kind of like what you would for a Clearo tank, tilt it, and done. Okay? So that's one good thing about the Kayfun compared to the Squape. I see two major differences here. The Kayfun is easier to fill, whereas this, you kind of, it's not that much harder really, but you do have to get to your coils and you obviously have to take the Squape off of your device in order to get to this, unless you really feel like living dangerously, and don't. So the juice access is easier on the Kayfun. However, with the Kayfun, you have no way of servicing your coil without having the tank completely empty and drained, without it just, and you don't want to do that. So the way you get to the coil assembly on the Kayfun is, it's not difficult, but it's also not as straightforward as the Squape. So what you want to do is you got to take your little tiny screwdriver, give it a quick little unscrew, which will free up the bottom piece. To get to the coil on your Kayfun, here's what you have to do. And you'll see, remember, with the Squape, it's just simply unscrew the bottom, and you get full access to your juice well and your coil. Well, on the Kayfun, it's a little different. Once I unscrew this part here, I now have two separate pieces, and as you can see here, the slight problem is that if your juice well was not empty, because even if you put a drip tip here, your juice has to go somewhere, and that somewhere is out of the tank. There you go. So you need to have it empty, unless you have a way of certainly plugging up the top, which it does not come with, it does not have. Assume the juice tank needs to be empty. So we'll just go ahead and place this off to the side. And now you have your little chimney assembly, which easily screws off. to give you access to, oh, a coil that's already on there. So, yeah. And as you can see, you have to build the coil on top of the chamber and then have the wicks come down from the top into this tiny little groove here, and that's where it'll pull down your juice and soak it up into your coil. Now, I didn't realize that this actually had this particular one had a coil installed on it. So, this coil, I actually threw it on my Vamo, which is right next to me, and this has a 2.5 ohm coil on it. Anyhow, like I said, I'm not going to put much on this, but I might as well vape it on a regulated device at 2.5. So I'm just going to go ahead and dump a little bit of juice in there, and by a little, I mean really not a lot. I hope this thing wicks. Kayfun test hit. Ugh. That didn't wick. Okay, so I had a little bit of a... the screw I pulled out actually led directly to the tank and leaked a bit of it out, and the first hit I took was incredibly dry. So it was gross. Gross. So, let's give it another hit. Flavor actually tastes not so bad. It's okay actually with the silica. Let me increase the wattage a little bit. You know, it actually does kind of have a drip-like taste to it, and this is only at 8 watts, 8.5 watts. Vapor production is not great, but I'm also vaping at 2.4 ohms, 8.5 watts, just because it's silica and the Kanthal is a joke. But yeah, so here we go. We got the Squape. We got the Kayfun. First video will be one of these two. Then we'll give a more in-depth preview of both of them. Then we're gonna give them a little battle, and see which tank I feel is the best rebuildable tank. Because if you're like me, you drive a lot, and I don't like to drip and drive. But I do like having that rebuildable taste rather than tanks if I can have it. I've had the Kraken, I've had the R-Tank, I've had the RSST, which is not a bad one, but to be perfectly honest with you, I'm not a huge Genesis atomizer fan for the most part. I'm not that I'm clumsy with vapes, but I have vape holders and stuff that keep things on a slant, and you gotta always be mindful of that with the Genesis. And I like the fact that this is a lot more versatile and a lot more nimble per se, and it's supposed to be self-wicking. So we'll see which one works out the best, and I'll catch you guys in the next video on it. If you like this video, and I know it's kind of a weird thing, we previewed 2 devices, really didn't review any, but I want to set the stage for this series of Battle of the Tanks. So if you like this video, like it, thumbs up, comment below, and let me know what you do or don't like about these videos. If you don't even like me, that's fine too. I don't like you then either. Jerk. You can always follow me on Twitter at DimDoes, Instagram at DimDoes, and I'm super interactive, so if you have any questions for me, feel free to shoot me a note, and I will probably get back to you. Alright? So, this is Dim, this is the Kayfun, this is the Squape, and this is the Battle of the Tanks.